everyone, one and all, Warhammer 40k fans and those that like the novel literature of said world. I'm here to take a look at, and I don't know if you can call it a review really, I'm just going to give some impressions after having read it, and just overall whether I recommend it or not. Gav Thorpe's, yes, Lord Gav of Thorpington, old fan favourite that has been re-released, Angels of Darkness, and it's got a snazzy new look. Here it is. Look at the size of that thing. Now, Angels of Darkness, completely white on the back, and that kind of type font inside. Comes in at 237 pages of story and afterward, but then you get the extra sort of white pages about the author, blah blah blah, and other books available such as The Book of the Lion, which is the same cover as this but inverted. So the Book of the Lion is green with the white thing like that, and this is the inverted version, and then you can put the two books next to each other so they make a sort of Dark Angel sword symbol thing. First thing to say about this is availability and price. Okay, so this was a book that was available and then was completely out of print, and when you were trying to buy the originals they'd be extremely difficult to get your hands on, and they'd cost stupid amount of money from second-hand sources, kind of like selling it as a rare. It's been re-released by Black Library, the company that do all the books on this, for £13. £13. Now, you might think, oh, well, that's just Black Library prices, you know, we'll source it somewhere else. But that's the thing that really puts a bug up my ass, and that is the fact that this is only available as exclusive direct through Black Library. So they are, in other words, completely controlling the monopoly on all purchases of this and guaranteeing the price of it will be what the bloody hell they want. So you're not going to find places like Amazon and that offering a few pounds savings that you're usually used to, or dollars or whatever your currency may happen to be. It's completely dismayed by the price of this, but compared to like the 30-40 odd quid of trying to get the originals, I had nowhere else to go, nothing else I could do. So I thought, oh, this better be good. I've heard it's good, and I've just recently started playing Dark Angel, so I wanted to know everything about them. It's a nice book. The quality and build of it is nice. It feels good to hold. The spine didn't end up creased from having read it all the way through, I might add. Mind you, I'm not one of these types that bend the whole thing right back on itself completely, but it's got a nice sort of flexibility element to it anyway, so it seems like it could withstand that. You got a slight indication of that back page crease thing going on from having held it open like you do long enough, where it's on white as well. It's not very obvious. Not too much page curling going on from having read it either. So obviously it's a nice quality. Obviously you get a little bit of lift after having read it. You can tell that's a book that's been read. Right. So that's the actual physical product and price and availability. Let's talk about what's actually inside this. So, firstly, right, if you're a fan of 40k novels, Space Marines in particular, and the manner in which they are like human, but certainly not human at all, and they have their own kinds of problems instead, Space Marine-y type problems, and the ones given to whatever their chapter is, then you're like this. If you're just a fan of those kind of things, this is definitely a must-have. If you are a Dark Angels player, then this really is the book you must have. I can say that with authority, because this is a book that doesn't just tell you about your chapter. It tells you a very intricate, particular story between an interrogator chaplain called Boreas and one of the Fallen who's been captured. And, you know, for the Dark Angels, you should know that the Fallen are the Dark Angels that are supposed to have turned on the Lion, sided with Luther back on Caliban just prior to its almost complete destruction. just slightly post Horus Heresy. The Dark Angels hold this terrible sin and don't want it to get out. They don't want to be kicked out of the list and called traitors. So they're trying to hunt down all of the fallen, make them repent through torture and interrogation, and then they put them out of their misery. So this is about one of the fallen that's being captured, Astalan. Right, now he was one of the original Legion Space Marines, and you know, his allegiance was initially to the Emperor. He was serving in the Dark Angels before Lionel Johnson was rediscovered and put in charge of the Dark Angels. So even though the Lion's original gene seed, they all come from elements of his initial creation, the Primarch's creation, all of the Primarchs were lost for a while, so the legions existed without them. So their first allegiance is to the Emperor. As we now know, some of the Primarchs' genes were a bit faulty, perhaps, here and there. The Emperor could make mistakes, indeed. You know, there were things wrong with the Primarchs. Let's look at the Blood Angels and the state they're in now. Let's look at the Space Wolves and kind of the genetic curse they carry inside themselves, and so on and so forth. Well, the same is being asked of the Dark Angels here. You know, what is their genetic flaw, and does it possibly even go back to the Lion? And there's a lot of very controversial stuff in here. Stuff that if you're a Dark Angel fan, you're going to find very uncomfortable and perhaps revealing, and you have to decide, do I want to believe what Astalan's saying as part of his interrogation? Because, you know, the things he's saying, look, this is why the Lion was wrong, this is why I was in the right for turning on him like I did. It does make you think in the end. It makes you consider, was he right? Was he actually right? Do you know what? It's not black and white anymore. It's a grey area. If he's telling the truth, there's something to ponder. And this is the sort of book that is going to divide opinions. It's going to divide people. It's going to make them debate. It's going to make them counter theory. It's one of those sort of books. Everyone's going to have something to say. Everyone's going to feel affected after reading it. It really is. And the brilliant thing about it is that the way it all ties in is that it goes back and forth in chapters between the interrogator chaplain Boreas and Astalan the traitor. The Astalan chapter, and it's all pretty much just the interrogation thing, and then back to Boreas and what he was doing outside, having after interrogated him and that sort of thing going on, and then, you know, back to Astalan again and a bit more of his interrogation, and you see Boreas in the interrogation room with Astalan, even though it's from Astalan's point of view. And then we go to the storyline back with Boreas again and see what he's doing outside of it all, and how the effect of what he's even going through during the interrogation, even though he's the interrogator, the things he's being told, how he is even debating internally, he's even thinking to himself, you know, and is it some feeling, something within himself that he's coming to realise that Astalan might be right or not? I mean, this is really great questions that this book poses, and the way that the two tie up together and then, you know, string together nicely at the end with a nice tie-in of Cypher. Yes, that's a special name for you Dark Angels out there. So, and the way that all ties in together and then comes to its finished, just, it doesn't even leave you blown away. It leaves you just sort of like thinking, whoa, and you just got this feeling that you're going to come away for days and weeks after and it's still going to be just hanging there. So, great book. I have to give it pretty much the highest recommendation as a Warhammer novel goes. Gav Thorpe, one of the officials of the Games Workshop line, anyway, So yes, if you are a general fan of Warhammer 40k novels, then this is going to be a recommended 5 out of 5 bookmarks. Whereas, of course, if you're a Dark Angels player, then pretty much it's going to have to be 6.5 out of 5. Nothing's ever clear. And if you like this review and me pointing this out to you and warning you about the price and that the book is available, and recommending it to you, then you know what to do. Boink, 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 and all the other good stuff. And I'll see you at the next video.